start then, since I have you for a minute. What is the status of what you were having done as far as the evaluation of Main Street in Stillman?
Say it again, Main Street.
The State Historical Society evaluation you were having done?
Uh-huh.
Where are you on that project right now for Stillman?
She was just in town earlier this week, Brenda Spencer, the consultant. I know she spent a lot of time with Terry Lilac, I believe, on Monday afternoon, going through a lot of research from the museum.
Okay.
So as of right now, she's still just kind of in the research phase.
Okay.
I think the first big deadline is February 1st for her to have a lot of kind of survey entries done, which is basically kind of address photography and a few things uploaded to the Kansas Historic Resources Inventory. So that's kind of the first big deadline, is to have a lot those survey entries done.
Okay. Yeah, we actually talked to, someone else talked to John Hancock, I believe. And he was talking about what to do with the stone structure on that elevator building. Because did you hear that the Solar Theater Center got a donation to buy it?
Well, I think you had emailed me or something like that.
I told you that.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen here this month.
Awesome.
But we didn't want to progress with anything until we find out if we have to work within the parameters of being registered as a historical building.
Well, I guess I would probably assume that you would qualify, but I can ask her about that, what her thoughts are on it. And say, I would suggest following the standards, because you might be able to qualify for some things, but it's going to be a little while, so I'd have to think about that a little more, how that all kind of plays out.
Do you know how that works with roofing? Because it's going to need a new roof, like a new superstructure on top of the roof, and that will not be anything close to the original, you know?
Yeah, and I would say, as long as you're not changing kind of the appearance of the building, you know, putting a membrane roof on instead of whatever they put on 100 years ago would probably be okay, as long as you're not,
Well, I think it actually needs to be a pitched roof, whether it be tin or whatever material. It's a flat roof with the drop to the back, and it's terrible with the gutters, the valleys.
Mm-hmm.
It really needs a peak roof, which would change the frontal view of the angle of the roof, but I don't see how they can get around that with some places.
Well, I would say that would probably be a problem. But maybe it'd be worthwhile. I don't know if John is coming back, but I could gladly meet with you guys. Or set up a meeting between you and the Kansas Preservation folks.
That would be great. That would be wonderful.
Okay. All right, is there anybody else, I guess, on the line for...
Dawn is.
Dawn? Okay. Steve, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I know Jennifer was not going to be able to make it, and Bob Siebel was not. I haven't heard anything from Doug. So I guess we can go ahead and get started here. I don't have a particular agenda, so I guess...
I'll start by updating you with the commission.
Okay.
We discussed what was discussed at the committee meeting, and they agreed to engage with a management company with the understanding that the transition of their employment may be directly from the commission to a third party, at some point, however we decide to do that. The other thing they said was we were going to ask what the legality issues are of us being on the lease itself, or excuse me, the license itself. But in that, we also discussed that part of the lease agreement from the commission to whichever group ends up doing the organizational facilitation, that can be outlined in the lease as far as how that license is tied to the facility, et cetera, contractually. So I think we're all on the same page with a lot of that. And I don't know, Steve, if you had some feedback about the 3 companies we talked about last time.
Well, I've contacted a couple of these folks, and I'm waiting to hear back. The people I've heard back from are basically the Omega Senior Living people who are based in Wichita. I talked to their chief operating officer, Lynn Lavali, I believe is how she pronounces it. I'm still not sure. She'd like to come out and take a look at Lincoln Park Manor before proposing anything, and I'm waiting to hear back from a couple of the others, which would include the Cornerstone Healthcare Solutions in Manhattan. And I need to make phone calls to a couple others that Kelly shared with me and get that taken care of. The one thing I worked on earlier this week that took up quite a bit of my time was with Eric Otting. We went over kind of a first draft of a pro forma budget, one-year budget. I had consulted with Bob people on a couple of things, and then
did you forward that draft to the committee?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you forward that draft to the committee?
No, it's still we're still working on it. We made some changes in the initial draft, and when we have something that we feel comfortable going forward with, which will probably be next week, I will share that with the committee, and then that'll be, I'm not sure how much that needs to be under confidentiality, but I'll have a draft ready to go next week, because we did revise some of the assumptions, and I'll have that should have that for you for our phone call next Friday.
Okay.
So I'm still working though with those other companies and the management companies trying to get that set up. If I do, I wanted to talk with the rest of the committee before committing time for anybody to come have a look, because my question is who all wants to meet and talk and show these people around. And I also would have to, of course, I think just out of courtesy, let Grace people know what we are doing if we do have somebody come up here and look the place over and want to talk with us. So that's the reason I haven't pulled the trigger on having somebody up here. I'm waiting. I wanted to share it with the committee, what I've been up to and who's coming and when, and try to facilitate that.
There is a clause in our lease, and I cannot give it to you verbatim, about that particular issue. So I think that needs to be looked at briefly.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's why I didn't do anything. I wanted to share it with you, and I'll let you know, too, in some way, shape, or form.
I would be willing to be
That's about all I have for today. That's what I've been doing. As far as, any of these companies or so on and so forth, I think we just get as much information from them as possible, share that up the chain of command to the Board of County Commissioners, maybe with a recommendation after we've talked to a couple of people, and then go from there.
Okay, if you would please forward whatever the original draft was that you're now editing again for the pro forma budget. I'd like to share that process with the commission, just to make sure that we know what kind of funding exactly is going to be expected from which angle. So if you just, I'd like to watch that transition happen. If you just forward that to me, if you have it via email, that'd be great.
Sure, I've got that in my email. I'll just have to search it out. I can do that. I'll just forward it to everybody.
Okay, I'm looking for the LPM lease right now, just to see if I could pull up that clause to know exactly what it said on our procedural.
The reason I hesitated on sharing the pro forma budget is because we did make some changes, and we talked about a number of things, and so I was waiting till we had something a little bit more final, but I'm happy to share the work in progress if that's what you want to see.
I think the commission, I would like to bring it to the commission.
Okay.
You know, it's...
Right.
I'm trying to, I do not, does anyone have the lease handy? Dawn, do you happen, oh wait. Dawn, do you happen to have that lease where you can pull it up anywhere?
Which lease specifically?
The current lease for Lincoln Park Manor.
Yes, I do.
If you would please find a section for us about bringing people to the facility. There's something in there. I remember a clause. I can't remember how it's worded.
I have you on mute, so I'm going to look real quick and then I'll get back on.
Sure.
Alexis, is there anything from the commission that, anything else the committee can be helping with or working on? I think last week we kind of talked about bylaws and this nonprofit, and if we can, if that's the direction they want to move forward on, if we can start kind of at least making some progress on that.
We did have a discussion about that, and it kind of ended open-ended, I should say. It concluded open-ended. I believe that the two current commissioners want to appoint the board. We talked about what may or may not be the differences of a directly appointed county board, like the hospital, versus a separate entity that is a nonprofit, which would then be contracted to the commission. In the state statute, which I think we need a little more direction from an attorney on this. I don't know that Mr. Hay is the attorney that needs to spend his time on this portion of it, because it's kind of a generic formation of something, and I think we're looking to him for more of this specialized practical approach to how we actually transition some of the legal paperwork. But as far as establishing and or progressing with the board, I do think maybe we need, Jennifer hasn't really given her opinion, but I think maybe we need a third person to do that.
Okay, this is Dawn again. It says inspection and repairs manner will permit the county's authorized agents to enter the premises at reasonable times to inspect or make repairs and upgrades.
Okay, it doesn't say anything about like assessment of the facility or anything like that, or potential purchasers.
Not that I can find.
Okay. Well, reasonable hours shouldn't be that hard to abide by.
So,
who's the person that orchestrated the initial setup of the LCEDF nonprofit?
like 20 years ago kind of thing?
Well, yeah, because someone set it up to be an elected board with, wait, do we, no, you were elected and funded through the county, which is kind of what they're requesting for the nursing home operations, to be a separate board that's funded through the county.
Yeah.
And whether it's appointed or not, that was part of the discussion. We don't know as a commission, whether we appoint people or not, how that organization functions as far as autonomy. And if the commission is going to fund any portion of the budget that they're working with, then I don't know that there needs to be complete autonomy from the commission, in other words.
I think, when all that happened 20-some-odd years ago, I believe it started out as a committee who was looking to get more focus on economic development in the county, and I believe that Bob Krangle was instrumental in all of that back then in terms of setting up those bylaws. He's been involved in economic development since before we were officially economic development and part of that committee.
Okay. Well, I think we've decided that party has a conflicted interest there in this particular setup, so I don't know that if there's another person locally or if we need to kind of reach out a little further beyond our borders to that.
I guess that would be up to the commission.
Okay, well, I'll tell them that they need to make a decision about that then.
This is just kind of my personal opinion, but I still feel like us as a committee can draft up some bylaws and do the work of kind of hammering out the major issues and then kind of handing it over to an attorney of some kind to just make sure that everything is right and everything. But I don't necessarily feel like we need to have an attorney hammer out all these issues and pay them to do it. I guess I kind of feel like us as a committee can hammer some of those big things out. But again, that's just my opinion.
I don't disagree there. I just think the commission has no legal sense of empowerment of the county, whether it's an appointed, affiliated board or a separate nonprofit entity.
Okay. Well, I guess...
In other words, I'll use the example I've used in the past. The Council on Aging is 100% funded by the county. And the county gives a portion of money out of their general budget from a line item to that organization yearly. And once that money is there, the commission really has no say over what happens. So if they overspend it, misspend it, it's its own organization. Now, with $100,000 a year, that's a little different than a multi-million-dollar operation. So if you set that board up in the same manner, when you allocate money and it's distributed by check from the county, then there's absolutely no connection to that money any longer, in other words. Mm-hmm. So there's the option of the lease. We lease to them just like we've done in the past, and it becomes a totally separate entity. But then actually the appointment by the commission means nothing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Have you looked at the bylaws or management agreement from the Redbud Village in Plainville?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel like they didn't address those things? That we can at least, again, kind of use that as a template or of some kind? I mean, obviously we're going to need to make it our own, but as a rough starting point.
Well, what I don't remember is how they addressed the liability and legality, because I think at our commission meeting on Monday we talked about how, ultimately we need to find out who owns the license in any given scenario for liability purposes. And then you go on to the funding issue. Did they say that in the agreement? I didn't catch that.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to discuss at this time?
Do you know whether they talked about that in those agreements that you just mentioned or not? I can't remember that part.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I feel like they touched on a few of the things that are concerns, but I don't remember specifically on the license. And if you want, I can happily call them and kind of say who owns the license, if that's not spelled out.
Yes, I think that's kind of one of the questions we wanted answered as a commission, because does that then, I mean, I've talked to other counties that, of course I didn't look at their paperwork, but they said that they own the license. That way when they contract management to whomever, that license doesn't move.
Okay.
And I think we did pose that question to Mr. Pay at some point, so we will go back eventually, but that's not really the focus of figuring out the problem with the license right now, I don't think. For him, anyhow.
Okay.
So I guess we need to hear back from these management companies and see where we can go with that, because in order to get the license actually transferred, we do have to have a legitimately hired, capable set of personnel for the transition.
Okay. So is there anything that we can be doing? Or...
Well, I told the commission that you guys would like some direction as a committee, and we did not come up with anything in particular. I think they're waiting for this meeting to happen with Jennifer.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about her going to a meeting with some of the State Department people, and that's not happened yet.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
I guess the only other thing I had was I figured the management companies may want some financial information. So, Steve, were you going to be able to provide that through Eric? Or I wasn't sure how we were going to transfer that information to anyone who wanted it, or to what degree.
Steve, are you there? Maybe we lost him.
Well, you didn't see any part of that pro forma budget yet, did you?
No, I haven't been involved in that.
See, I'm wondering if that's something that we need to include, because they can look up their own cost reports. I know that's public information, but they may want to even know what the projections would be, as well as looking at the facility. So
yeah, I guess my thought is Steve they were kind of trying to hammer out, come up with some good assumptions, and just kind of put together at least a draft that all of us can kind of look at. I'm sure we'll have lots of comments, and they would have. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. That once we have that, we'll all be able to make some comments. But well, I guess seems like we're all pretty quiet here. So, is there anything else?
I think I'm good here.
Okay.
I did email everyone, I think everyone on the list, a copy of that draft budget. I would just caution everybody that is subject to further review, and we're still working on it. It's not carved in stone, is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
great, thank you. That gives me something to share with the commission.
Okay. And is it okay if people want to come visit? I missed that part as to whether we're okay to, if I just ask the Graces to walk through the place with somebody.
The only thing I heard in that clause is that, within reasonable hours.
Right.
So I think we're good.
Okay. I will try to start setting that up and keep everybody in the loop on who's going to do what when.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for contacting the company.
Sure. All right.
Have a good weekend.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Good weekend. Bye.